Hi guys, we're back again with 5.2. The question says use the table to determine the Laplace transform of each of the following. Simplify your answer. We're given a hint that we must use what? We must use the table. Use the table to determine the Laplace transform. Here are the keywords we are required to do what? Determine the Laplace transform. Laplace transform of each of the following function, and they said you must simplify your answer. Well, before we try to dive into the question, let me just give you a back revision, a revision of exactly what is Laplace transform. So when you're talking about Laplace transform, let me just write Laplace transform. When you're talking about Laplace transform in simple term is just an integral which moves our time function, which is f of t, into what? Into f of s. Our f of t is our time domain, whereas our f of s is our complex frequency domain. So basically, in short term, when they say you must take the Laplace, they mean that you must move from f of t to f of s. But of course, you need to pay attention to the notations. By notations, I mean that if you are required to take the Laplace, let's just write notations. If you are given your function f of t and you are required to take the Laplace, it means your Laplace transform will be f of s. If you are given r of t, it means your Laplace will be capital letter R of s. If you're given g of t, it means your Laplace will be what? Will be capital letter G of t. Even the inverse is true. With the inverse, it means you are doing what? With the inverse, you are moving from your complex frequency domain to your time domain. This implies that you are moving from what? F of s, which is your complex frequency domain, to what? To your time domain. It means you're going to have your what? Your f of t. If you're given r of s and you're required to determine the Laplace, this is the inverse. It means you'll be having what? R of t. And then for g of s, it means you'll be having what? G of t. So now that we have this information, we can easily try to solve the following problem. I'm going to read the question again. They said we must use the table to determine the Laplace transform of each of the following function. If you look into your Laplace table, there are different rules which you need to use. Of course, you have to look at the function that you're given before applying the rule, meaning you have to use the proper rule for your equation. So you're given a function here which is g of t is equals to 2 sine hyperbolic of 3t plus t sine of 2t. If you look into your table, you will realize that for this guy here, we're going to use rule number 5, and for this guy here, we're going to use rule number 14. Of course, I have attached these rules here. These are the rules that we actually need to apply. So without wasting time, let's try to dive into the question and try to solve the question. Remember, the question said we must determine the Laplace. What is the definition of Laplace? From the previous slide, I said the definition of Laplace, it means we're moving from the time domain to our what? To a complex frequency domain, meaning we're moving from f of t to f of s. This implies that if you are having g of t, remember you need to take care, you need to be able to identify the notations that you actually need to use. I mean, if you look at the previous slide, you can see that here we're given g of t. This implies that our Laplace of g of t is going to be what? We're going to have g of s, because we're moving from our time domain to our complex frequency domain. So the Laplace of g of t is going to be what? It's going to be g of s, which is equals to 2 is our constant, and then sine of 3t. This is rule number 5, as I have already explained, which is this part here. So the value of a is the constant which is in the argument, meaning we're looking at what? We're looking at 3 here. We're looking at 3. So the value of a, if you take the Laplace of sine hyperbolic of 8t, which is sine hyperbolic of 3t, it means our answer is going to be what? A, which is 3 all over s squared. S squared is part of the formula, minus 3 squared, which will give us 9. Plus, if you look at this part, this is rule number 14. So rule number 14, it says if you are having t sine of 8t and then you take the Laplace, your answer is going to be 2as all over s squared plus a squared all squared. So from the formula, we already have these 2 here. So if we take the Laplace of this guy here, you're going to have 2 times the value of a. Our a is the constant inside the argument, which is 2 times s all over s squared plus a. Our a is 2, which will give us 4, then all squared. From the question, we're told that we actually need to do what? We need to what? To simplify your answer. So to simplify your answer, it means you're going to distribute the 2 inside and also apply your multiplication here in order to have your answer in simple form. So basically our final answer is going to be g of s, which is equals to 6 all over s squared minus 9 plus 4s all over s squared plus 4 all squared. This is how you are supposed to obtain these 2 free marks without even actually thinking. Thank you.